After 6 weeks of episodes, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's series finale has just aired, and I think it's safe to call it a massive success. With Sam suiting up as Captain America to take on the Flag Smashers, and with arcs to resolve for Bucky, John Walker, Karli, and Sharon Carter, the episode had a lot on its plate, but it managed to accomplish all its goals with aplomb. Focus will now inevitably shift towards what's next for Sam Wilson and the gang, and where they could show up next. So, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture, and with me today to discuss the series finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is Amy Rapier.
Hello, I'm on such a buzz this morning.
It's great, isn't it? I'm riding the Falcon and Winter Soldier high for the very last time until we do this all over again in June when Loki happens, and in that time I'll be doing the Bad Batch for Star Wars. But yeah, it's
You're
great.
all over the place.
It's everywhere. The content doesn't stop, and I blame Disney for everything. But yeah, Amy, what did you think of the episode overall?
I was really happy with it overall. As always, I've said this almost every time, there were little bits and bobs in there, mainly to do with just tiny bits of dialogue that were a bit on the nose or didn't quite work for me. But overall, I was so happy with how it turned out. I was generally happy with how things were resolved for people and where we're pointing to in the future. And in general, I've come out with a positive outlook on the show.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the first two episodes kind of wasted too much time establishing the post-Endgame status quo, which I think the show, it would have made maybe more sense if it was the first series to come out after Endgame, but obviously we had WandaVision, which already established that you didn't need to set up anything because we'd already seen that in Far From Home anyway. Yeah, like kind of getting to the big details of this episode. Obviously, you get that first shot of Sam in the Captain America suit, and this is to me the most authentic MCU costume we've gotten so far in terms of it just looking like a mirror image of the suit that was designed for Sam's first appearance as Captain America in the comics. And it's such a great look, and I love the way they integrate, you know, the Falcon wings and how he's essentially, you know, putting his own stamp on the identity of Captain America. We also get that great kind of action set piece in the where he's chasing down the helicopters and the Flag Smashers are basically, you know, taking the GRC and taking them all over town. And I thought everyone in this episode just had their moment to shine. And what really impressed me about it is that one of the things you see with ensemble series, and you know, it would be easy for something as big as the MCU to lose characters kind of in you know, all the chaos. I felt as though everyone here got a well-rounded emotional payoff, or not even just emotional payoff, just a proper payoff. Like even Batroc the Leaper, like he gets a good kind of resolution to his arc in a way where, you know, he kind of realizes that he's been played. But it also, the episode, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Raimi's Spider-Man movies, in the sense that obviously, you know, it was set in New York and you have the whole kind of the New Yorkers thing going on, but also I realized this as I was watching the episode, it is the first time that we've seen Captain America as a national symbol and what he means to people outside of the first Avenger. We haven't really seen Steve Rogers since he got brought back to the present actually interacting with the community or knowing how people actually, you know, perceive and adore the character and how they revere him. So I thought that was a major plus, and I thought it really added another great political dimension to the character, which obviously we'll get to later on. In terms of unpacking the ending itself, we have a lot to talk about here. So obviously we have that great moment with John Walker where he kind of comes back onto the scene, and we all kind of thought in our predictions video that he was going to go even more off the deep end, and that, yes, you know, this would be him kind of, this would be where La Contessa stepped in and was like, no, you don't operate without my authority or whatever. But he makes the right decision, like, you know, kind of his character in the comics, where it's a case of he's a bit ignorant and easily manipulated or whatever, but deep down he does want to make the right decision. And when he has the choice between exacting his revenge on Karli or saving, you know, the members of the GRC who are about to take a very quick dive into a construction site, he makes the right choice. And even though he doesn't succeed, when he does make that choice, he commits himself to it. He makes a sort of, it's not a sacrifice, but it is to him. And I thought that was
hugely
great.
I completely agree. I thought, even though you could in a way say it was a bit on the nose, we literally had the looking to the truck, then looking to Karli moment. As much as it was very much a visual demonstration of his choice, it worked because it did get a very clear picture of him making that choice. And especially earlier, as we had that moment again where he was reminded of his loss and how little it actually meant to Karli by her saying, I didn't mean to kill people that didn't matter. and sort of his recognition that, like, no, that person did matter to me. That's what we're talking about here. And later on, despite saying that he's kind of there for the person that mattered to him, he makes the choice to let that vengeful part go and save these people that he doesn't know but are important to the country as a whole, to the symbol of protecting the people. It's literally like the train conundrum where you can pull the lever and you can save one person or you can save everyone else. You can save your own ego or you can save this truck of people about to fall to their deaths. And luckily, he made the right choice.
Yeah, it's just, I thought that was that might be one of my favorite moments from the episode. Obviously, after that, when we have Bucky, Sam, and John in the same place as they're trying to take down Carly, we have that great kind of chase through the actual construction site, and we also get to see kind of the big reveal. Now, we did mention in our predictions video earlier this week the theory surrounding the power broker and who the power broker was going to be, and we both kind of were like, oh, we've heard the Sharon Carter stories, but we were kind of just a bit like, and then they actually committed to it. And again, I think this is the one part of the episode that doesn't really work for me, if I'm going to be brutally honest. Not to say that it isn't in line with what we've seen from Sharon in the comics before, because she has had a villainous streak to herself in the past. You know, she did take a kind of bitter, resentful attitude to Nick Fury in the comics for a while. Then obviously she had the whole mind control. She gets mind controlled a lot in the comics. It's kind of a thing. But for her character here to switch that quickly and to have that kind of that ruthlessness to her, I did think it was a little bit strange. I don't know how you felt about it.
For me, I think the part of it that made it less good, great grammar, that made it less good for me was that they hadn't really seeded it that much. For me, as someone who, unlike you, has much lesser knowledge of the comics, just from observing the MCU, just what we've seen on screens, I guess it kind of worked for me because I can understand the bitter side, that, oh, you're offering me a pardon, oh, thanks, you're a bit too late, and taking that opportunity to further yourself because you kind of feel like, well, you've done nothing for me, so I'm going to get my revenge. I mean, it is a little bit sort of shallow, but in its like plainest essence, it worked for me. But in terms of the actual production of the series, why it felt off to me was that there wasn't really that much lead up to it. It felt a bit cheap. It felt like a shock factor turnaround, like pulling the mask off in Scooby-Doo and revealing that you've been the criminal all along. And yeah, no, that didn't sit quite right with me.
Yeah, it felt like a kind of the obligatory twist they kind of had to get in there. And obviously the post-credit scene for the season finale does show that Sharon will be sticking around in the future. She gets her pardon from the US government and is back to working for some unnamed intelligence agency. Obviously S.H.I.E.L.D. no longer exists, so again, expect to see more of Sharon Carter in the future, although in what series or movie, we don't know yet. Before we get into the final moments of the episode, though, and talking about John Walker and the big moment with La Contessa, I do want to talk about Sam Wilson and Isaiah Bradley and the great speech that Sam gives towards the end of the episode. When we were watching the show to begin with, it felt as though it was not addressing these conversations in a mature or deep manner, but over the course of the last 3 episodes, it definitely has, and I feel as though, you know, it kind of all comes together in that nice package at the end, where Sam not only makes the right choice, you know, he tries to save Carly, he gets back up, he embodies all the traits of Captain America, and then some, because he's then brave enough, like Steve was, to actually take on the authority figures, the institutional kind of, you know, figures that have basically caused these problems. You know, they're quite happy to wash their hands of Carly and say, you know what, she was a terrorist, that's all she was. But Sam's like, well, no, you got to think about the root causes behind this, why you pushed someone into that position and how you can change that. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. And obviously, again, it kind of all comes together when he goes to visit Isaiah and writes him back into the official history and narrative of Captain America, unveiling a statue for him at the Smithsonian exhibit. And honestly, Amy, there were many moments in this episode. I think what's happened right with the Marvel series, if we're going to take this as a trend now, because WandaVision's finale made me a bit teary-eyed, and this finale made me a bit teary-eyed. I'm worried about what Loki's finale is going to do to me now. And it's just going to be just the crying episode each time, because it's just the emotional payoff was so good.
Yes, and I think for me as well, those two moments signified a change in the Captain America sort of idea, that now he is more outwardly representing not just the ideals of America, but the people too. Like you mentioned earlier, this is kind of the first time in a long time we've seen any interaction with the people that he's meant to be protecting and representing. And I think that's a really good way to go with Cap, in that it's one thing to represent the stars and stripes and to represent your government, but it's a whole other, much more complex thing to be able to advocate for and represent the people who are looking up to you, who are relying on you, and also the people that aren't, the people that do still think you're a sellout or you're an enemy. And it's taking those steps towards making a resolution between those who don't believe in you, those that do, and sort of saying, well, even if I'm not everyone's favourite guy, I'm still going to do the right thing because I'm here for all of you. And I thought that was really strong, really good.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. I think that's a great way to sum it up. We'll move on to John Walker now, because one thing people won't know, when we did the predictions video earlier this week, I was toying with the idea of maybe repainting his Captain America costume for the thumbnail to be black, white, and red to mirror the US agent outfit from the comics, but I was like, nah, in the trailer he's still wearing his old one. If he was going to have a new outfit, they would have shown it by now or whatever. And lo and behold, they actually do introduce him. You get Julia Louis-Dreyfus is just brilliant as La Contessa. Like, it's just, she's just fantastic. So funny, and obviously the moment where, you know, Walker steps out and he's wearing the US agent outfit, and, you know, she gives him the title somewhat awkwardly, but whatever, it's cool. And
but the fact that he's taking so long to put it on, and she's like, what's taking him so long? And his wife is like, it's probably the helmet.
He's the dumb, well-intentioned man, and obviously, you know, I imagine people will take umbrage with the fact that he didn't get as much of a comeuppance as he did for kind of, you know, when you're in that position as Captain America, you're not allowed to make mistakes of the kind that he made, and I think there is an argument to be made there that they kind of gloss over just how serious a thing he did. But equally at the same time, you know, it's a case of, like, you know, like we've already had these conversations in previous videos where we've said, you know, the US government are largely responsible for Walker's situation, and it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to his new role as US agent. You know, it's not the same as Captain America. He's not embodying the same kind of symbolic value or whatever else, like, you know, that Sam is capable of doing. He's not as good as Sam, and I'm just really excited to see how they use that character moving forward. I am fully in the Thunderbolts camp for this. I'm convinced, and we get that shot of Zemo in the raft as well after La Contessa, you know, basically hints that she car bombed the remaining Flag Smashers. So maybe that's her in with Zemo. Maybe she's like, well, I know you won't want to work with John Walker, who is a super soldier, but I did kind of just blow up like 4 of the other ones, so like you could maybe still come work for us, you know, if you would like to.
I do need to say though, there is still one Flag Smasher left. That they obviously sent Sam to get out of the Hudson, which kind of, my immediate thought with that was like, oh, are they going to do something with that? Is there going to be this one final remaining angry Flag Smasher? And also, they know who the identity of the power broker is, whereas Carly and Batroc and people who were sort of threatening the big reveal to people, they're all gone. But there's this one mysterious Flag Smasher floating around in the Hudson. I don't know if they're going to go anywhere with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because like I got the impression that it was maybe only Carly who had contact with the power broker, and I think that's where kind of the secret kind of lives and dies there. And that is, like, you know, the big question I have to kind of tie this video all up is, where do you see these arcs getting resolved in later kind of MCU kind of content? I'm curious to see maybe if we're gonna see more of Sharon in the Iron Man spin-off. I believe it's called Armor Wars, I think it's called. I can't remember. I'm probably, if I've goofed up massively there, I really apologize, because I should have looked it up before going into the video. But, you know, in terms of there is still plenty of espionage angles to take with these characters, and I cannot wait to see. I thought this was such a great way to kind of move into the future of the MCU, and ultimately what it left me wanting was another Captain America movie, but obviously with this new cast of characters, like, you know, with Sam and Bucky, and again, just really curious to see how this all proceeds going forward.
Yeah, no, I would feel very positively towards a new Captain America movie, especially with the kind of the whole new setup. It feels like we've moved on to the next step. So we're starting from a completely different point now. We've got this whole new history that's been revealed behind the super soldiers and Captain America. We've got this whole new attitude and approach, whole new host of kind of enemies and other surrounding characters. And I mean, I do think it will happen at some point. It's kind of inevitable. They pump out so many movies. But I would love to see where they go with it.
Yeah, the content does not stop, and neither does Disney, because they just keep on going. But yeah, let us know what you all thought of the Falcon and Winter Soldier finale down in the comments below. And more importantly, where do you see these characters going in the years to come? Do you think they're going to appear in different TV shows? We're going to get our own Captain America movie. I'm really curious to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below. Please be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it as well, and head back on over to whatculture.com where you can find more content like this, but in the written word. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to, at Ewan Ruins Things, and you can follow Amy on Twitter at
Amy Repair.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.